You want to make sure the bike front tire is off the ground. Take the weight off it. We're going to cover just the right one. The left one is exactly the same. The first step is to break loose the fork cap. Underneath that fork cap, you're going to have three parts. You're going to have a tube spacer. Underneath the tube spacer, you're going to have a washer. And underneath the washer, you're going to have the spring. The spring is ultimately what you want to get at to replace the spring. So, I like having a little bit of an extension on my ratchet when I pull these apart so you can keep one hand on the fork cap itself. There's an O-ring on that fork cap. What he has is the tube spacer, just basically a little piece of pipe. Then you pull the washer out. And then you get at the spring. Get your new spring. Slowly slide it down there. Don't just drop it like we did there. There is oil in there and you don't want it to splash everywhere. Try and keep the same amount of oil in it. You can add a little bit if you want. Once you get the spring in there, you set the washer in there. And then you set the tube spacer. If you need to, you can add a little bit of fork oil before you button it back up. Try and just add the same amount that you lost, which won't be much. Repeat the process for the left fork. Remove the tube spacer, or the fork cap, the tube spacer, the washer, and the spring. Now notice how he has his palm on the back of that ratchet and he's pushing down. That is a steel fork tube and an aluminum fork cap. So there's a lot of spring pressure under there. You want to be able to screw it down without that spring pressure pushing against the threads. You also notice he put a little bit of oil on that O-ring before he finally tightened it up. You want the forks all the way to the right so you can tighten it down against the steering stop. And at the same time, when you take the thing apart, you want the forks turned all the way to the left so you can loosen it against the steering stop. You can see you installed that spacer pipe. And again, holding on the back of the head of the ratchet, pushing down on the fork cap. These are a little bit of a pain to start. You want to make sure that you do not strip your fork cap out or your fork tube. The manual says 17 foot-pounds of torque, and factory oil weight is 8. I like putting in a little bit heavier fork oil. I find that it improves the ride quality. I put 15 in mine, but something to play with if you want. If you want to drain them, there's 2 bolts at the bottom of the fork that you can completely drain your forks. This is another tech video from Northstarriders.com. Thank you.